Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's DVT Insight session. We're just giving folks a moment to get connected and join us. I'm sure that they will be in with the next few seconds or so, and then we will get going. Great to have you all with us again today. All right. I think that's got folks out of the wait room and in. There we go. And again, welcome to today's DVT Insight session. We have the pleasure of Anton Keyter with us today. Anton's one of our leading generative AI consultants, and he'll be showing you just how to make the most of generative AI, particularly within the Microsoft 365 environment and utilizing Microsoft's Copilot. Anton brings a wealth of experience in this. I'm well aware of all the training that he has delivered to folks, as well as attended himself in order to gain the knowledge that he has, as well as practically leading DVT on its journey with generative AI currently. Anton, welcome to the session today. Pleasure to have you with us again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Carl. It's I always enjoy these sessions, and nice to meet everybody. And yeah, we can jump in as soon as you are ready.
Fantastic. Just for our audience, as per usual with our DVT Insight sessions, we will take your questions. There is a Q&A function at the top of your screen. It should be there as one of the icons. So if along the way you have a particular question, please pose that in the Q&A section. I will pick those up and I will pose those through to Anton, either during the course of the session or at the end of it. And with that, I think we'll leave it to you, Anton. Thank you, sir.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just want to see, can you see my screen sharing?
All good, Anton.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Thank you so much. Okay, so as we advertised and as we mentioned, this is a generative AI session, and we will be focusing on Copilot and then specifically Copilot in M365 or Microsoft 365. So in this session, we will keep it practical, and the session will cover the basics, and we will start with an introduction to prompting and the basics on prompting, just to lay the foundation, and then we'll move progressively but quite fast into Microsoft Copilot M365, and this lays the foundation for us to understand more complex scenarios, more complex prompting. So if you think, okay, I've got the basics down, just hold on a bit. When you get to Copilot M365, there will be some interesting prompts and interesting things shared. And if you're new to this, and if you think, okay, I need a proper foundation, then obviously it's a good start for you as well in this. And I would always encourage you to, play with these ideas, look at the recording again, look at the prompts, and look at how we apply the prompts. But we can jump right in. Okay, so I love this quote from Denzel Washington, and I pulled this to what we are doing. Just because you are doing a lot more doesn't mean you are getting a lot done. Don't confuse movement with progress. So what do I mean by that? The fact that we're using AI shouldn't be just something different that we do, or we're doing things differently. It should actually move the dial. It should move us forward, and we don't want to keep everything the same. So AI should actually be the tool that we expect it to be. We don't want to get into a space where we say, okay, this is something new, but what can it do for us? And it's not moving the dial for us. So we're gonna try and accomplish that with this presentation, where we're gonna set out the foundation and then show you a bit deeper what M365, Microsoft Office 365 can do for you. Okay, so I think a good start is just to get our mind in the space of where AI is going. Is let's look at the evolution of some technologies and how technologies has changed over the years. And obviously, I'll be dating myself here when I mention these, but if you look over time, there's some very interesting technology advancements that we can look at. For instance, a simple example, very simple, we can all relate to that, libraries, ebooks and audiobooks. And then if we move on If you look at calculators or calculations, the old abacus, abacus is actually still used in some spaces, and then a calculator, and then obviously Excel set a new standard for us. And then if we moved on to navigation and GPS, if you can still remember the days when we had to use a paper map. In some cases, people do prefer that, then it's okay. If you prefer the paper map, great. But now you can move on to a GPS device, and it's on your smartphone now. You can use your smartphone as well. So note that smartphones are being mentioned quite often here. So let's look at photography. Photography, same thing here. Start with film cameras. That's got a huge, interesting history behind it. We moved to digital cameras. Now in smartphones, there's some overlap here still. Digital cameras, if you're a camera enthusiast, maybe you still have a SLR camera. That's okay. But again, you see the theme of the smartphone here. That's also very interesting. Communication, letters, landline phones, smartphones. It's a bit abstract here, but it gets the idea across. Again, we see the smartphone. And then the one that will give away your age very quickly is the vinyl records. I hear some people still prefer the vinyl records to create a bit of atmosphere, but yeah, we are now in streaming services. We moved on from CDs and DVDs to streaming services. So if we keep this perspective and try to understand where are we going with AI, where's AI taking us from where to where? So if you ponder that a little bit, you would like to say books. You would like to say many other things about information, about processing of information, but it is simply the progress to the access to knowledge. If you look previously, it was all about education, all about libraries. Nothing wrong with that. We're still in that space. The internet brought some democratization of information. Remember the days when Netscape started and beginning of Google and search engines, and you had the internet at the tip of your fingers. You can do searches. And now AI has opened the door to universal access to tailored insights. So what does that mean? AI is bringing not only information to the table, where you can ask questions about certain information, but it also brings the ability to create insights and ask questions about insights, connecting the dots, asking deeper questions and things like that. Okay, so let's move on. So we will be focusing on Copilot specifically. Obviously, there's a lot of other generative AI tools. We'll also be using the term AI very generically. I know theoretically it's not the beginning and end all of what generative AI is and chatting with AI is. There's so many angles you can approach this, call it whatever you want. But I think in this session, we're going to, for convenience sake, we will stick with the term AI. Okay, so in this case, Microsoft Copilot, it's their AI that they created, basically based on the foundation of OpenAI's ChatGPT type models. And you can see the integration very closely with the OpenAI models. And Copilot, obviously, if you want to access it, you can access it. There's a certain amount of free tokens you get, and you can access it on copilot.microsoft.com as we share there. Okay, so let's look at Copilot and the features it brings when you log in. So you'll notice, first of all, when you log in and you're concerned about security, which is a big thing for us, obviously, you want your data to be safe. You want to make sure that you have that protection. And if you have a Copilot M365 license, you have that commercial data protection. So they do guarantee that. And a way to look for that is with your login, you look at this little shield that you get, and it shows you that it's active. If you don't see that shield, you have to log in. You can still type in queries, but you do have to log in make sure that your data is protected. So what does that mean? It means your files, it means your OneDrive, it means your queries and things like that. And what you share, what you type in there is safe. Okay, from that, I just want to point you to the types of mechanisms that you have conversations with Copilots. You'll notice here there's two toggle buttons here. You have a Copilot side and you have a notebook side. We'll get to this notebook side just now. But you'll notice there's a web component here. And the web components usually have conversations and searches related to the web specifically. You can still attach files, but if you specifically want to go into the space where the AI asks questions or the questions are asked against your work, your files, you would select the work part of it. Okay, and then here at the bottom, you'll notice three little icons here up from the right. You'll see the recording button, and that's actually, you can speak to it if you want. You can dictate to it directly. I don't use this very often, but some people like to use this. And then you can attach files. So obviously, being a Microsoft platform, you can attach the whole gamut of Microsoft type files, and then you can attach images. So it can understand images as well if you want to ask questions around images. And obviously here is where you type in your question. Okay, if you switch to the work part of it, you'll notice we're still on Copilot, but now the notebook has disappeared. Okay, we'll get to that just a bit later. But on the work side of it, you get a couple of things that come with it. Is that you get this little toggle button here that is the plugins, and those plugins are specifically related to web content. So if you want to include web content or not include web content in your prompt or your question that you ask Copilot, you can toggle this button on or off. So generally you would say, why bother? Why not just leave it on all the time? So it's all about focus. Do you want the AI to focus on the content that's in your OneDrive or in your meetings or in your emails? Then you would turn that off. So it will help the AI engine to basically just focus on the content of your OneDrive and what is in your Microsoft 365 space. And then on the side here, you'll notice that's you don't get this history with the web part, but with your work part, you get the history, your chat history, and you obviously can refer to that. And with that, we're moving on to the notebook. So the notebook part of it, you'll notice that's only on the web. So this part of it is basically focusing on web content. You can still refer to files and images here, but mostly this is a nice space to create ideas, get content, and it will then generate this at the bottom here. It's not a conversational type of chat, so it won't go question answer and then move up question answer like you have in a normal chat, like WhatsApp or your messages. Every time you click this button, so just be aware, every time you click this button, it will remove your previous message. So it's a bit of a playground where you can design your prompts and query and get your output. Okay. So now let's move on to the basics of prompting. As I said, we're going to start with the basics. We're going to lay the foundation for you in order to understand what is basic prompting. If you're aware of this, you've done this with me before, it's okay. Hold on, we'll get to the M365 stuff, but let's go through this just to lay the foundation. It's very good to apply these practices, and it's a very good guideline for you. So we're going to look at what prompting is. We're going to look at the good and the bad, which is very relative because you can say anything and ask anything. This is just the guidance for that. Okay, so what is prompting? So I asked a different model, Claude 3.5. I asked what prompting is, and it came up with this very fanciful term. LLM prompting is the art and the science of crafting precise input instructions to elicit desired outputs from large language models. Okay, so it's the instruction part of it. And I always say it's interesting when you do when you get counseling and things like that, the term they also use is prompting. It's interesting, just an interesting note that I also noticed the term being used there. So here's a couple of quotes that we have. Prompts are programs. I don't want you to be put off with that, is that I've seen that usually we expect AI to fall into that technical space, and it's not always that. It's not always that. AI has opened up technology and insights and data to every space of business, every creative space, every industry. So you can apply it everywhere, and it's not just for developers or software engineers or programmers. Okay, then Sam Altman, CEO of Copilots, the art of prompting is really about understanding the model's capabilities and limitations. Okay, so he insinuates that you have to know the model in detail, which I will show you now. You can really just go for it in that sense. So you don't always need to understand the intricacies, but obviously it helps to understand what the model is all about. Effective prompt design is crucial for unlocking the full potential of large language models. The choice of words in a prompt can dramatically change the output. True. And then the last one, prompt engineering is not just about getting the right answer, but also steering the model's reasoning process. So that talks about data, and it talks about how you approach the AI and how you ask your questions. Okay, so let's jump in. So these 5 characteristics of a good prompt is the basis for good prompting. So maybe other people have other opinions about it, and these are not hard and fast rules. But you will have a combination of some of these points. Maybe you can just say hi and it will respond to you, and it doesn't contain all of these, but it's a good guide to get the best out of your prompt. Otherwise, you're going to have a long conversation and you could have saved a lot of time. So these are just the basic foundational characteristics. Purpose, define your goal. In this case, generate a personalized cover letter. Very clearly defined data or content, what information, the client's name in this case, the company. So you can use that. And this example here at the bottom is just a template. So obviously you will insert your details here wherever you want to go with this prompt. Attention and focus. So attention and focus has a very interesting part to it because you can set the AI's personality. You know, how many times would you like to have seen something from the perspective of a certain expert? And you can use this to set the attention and the focus. You can say, as an expert on artwork, as an expert on project management, as an expert on gardening, and then you can ask a question and it will use that perspective to apply its focus. Okay, and then insights, this is where the power comes in, and insights is emphasize the benefits and unique value we offer. So this is where you're really leaning on the model, is to say, what else can we glean? What other insights can we glean from this? And this is really a big thing, you know, for your AI response and for the response you get from the model, is that you want it to give you additional insights. And then lastly, the output. If you're not going to specify the output or how you want to see it, in this case, format the output as a professional business letter, it's going to make up its own mind. So it's going to not be necessarily the bright response that you expect, formatted in a way that you expect. So if you specify the formatting, then it's definitely going to help your output. So these are the basic rules: purpose, data, attention, insights, and output. It's a good 5 points to remember on one hand, and maybe you just use a couple of these points, but it's a good foundational guidance. Okay, so let's try our first prompt. We can see here's an example. Develop a brief sales pitch. Again, it's the purpose that helps people manage their daily tasks and improve productivity. That's data. That is information you give, and you can. This part of the attention. The attention should be on the app's features, on the benefits, the innovative aspects. The insight is how do it differs from existing productivity, And then we specify the output. Use a clear, everyday language, keep it to 150 words. So this would be the basic structure of what you would do. Maybe you want to format it differently, and maybe you want to approach this differently. Okay, so let's see. Here's an example. Let's try that prompt. At the bottom, you would put in your prompt. In this case, I just pasted it. I had it ready and handy, and you can keep a little database of your prompts as well, a little file. If you want to just use prompts that you use often, and there's the response. And yeah, I did it in a very condensed format. Introducing task manager, and there's the response, and those are the key items we ask for. Okay, so there's another scenario. So you can actually say, okay, now, Anton, why do I need to have that small prompt? Why don't I just ask everything at once and just do the whole thing at once and just get it to answer everything? So the problem we have here is what we call context length limits. These context length limits are confined to how much information you can send, how big is the question you can ask, and what is the size of the response you can get. So if you're going to ask a lot of things, it will compress the answer into a certain context length. And you will not necessarily get the details that you expect. And if you confine your questions to short, focused on what the conversation is like, you will get more rich answers, and you can guide the LLM, you can guide the AI specifically to answer specific questions for you. So yeah, you can do this, and maybe you have your file ready with your prompt that you ask, and then you change some figures here or information, and then you can just go for it. And you say, okay, this is fine with me. As I said, there's no hard and fast rule. If you want to do this, and maybe AI and language models in the future will be able to handle stuff like this. Okay, but let's for now consider the context window that you are working with. Okay, so there's the long prompt. I'm not going to read through this. It tries to cover everything as an example. So let's see what happens if we give it the long prompt. There we go. I'm just pasting it in as an example. There we go. That's a huge example. Let's send it off. And now it's really gonna try and fulfill what we've asked. It's going to cover everything we've asked. And you see, you have very little control over this. So it's not always the best way to start off. And for you to have more control, that's a better way of approaching it. Say rather, okay, let's do this step by step. Right, but it's nothing wrong with implementing a single prompt. They call it, by the way, we call it zero shot prompting. Nothing wrong with it. Okay. Let's move on to creation of images. If you didn't know, you can use Copilot to create images as well. And there's a bit of a foundational concepts that you can use here. You know, obviously, what do you want to do? What image do you want to create? In this case, create an image of a cool girl at a desk with a computer making a peace sign. Describe how. Show her as a cartoon using simple shots. And here's another part of the how. Keep the style modern and eye-catching, not too detailed. And then what else you want to include is the details that is important. In this case, we say use clear lines to make everything easy to see. It should look friendly and stand out. Okay, let's do this and see how this comes out. We're going to take that same prompt in Copilot, and note we are on the web side of it that we're creating this. And there's the prompt we try, and now it takes a while. And if you do not have a paid version, you can create 3 images, or 3 times you can ask it to create. If you have a paid version, either the Copilot Pro or the Copilot M365, you've got 99 tries, 99 different images you can create. And yeah, there we go. So it gives you 4 images, and you'll notice Okay, that one is the first one is not what we asked for. There's two girls there, and we didn't ask for two. Even the second one, it's okay. It's not bad. And then the third one, but the desk is a bit strange. And this change to the screen, and this one is more like a good candidate for us. But okay, so this just to show you can also create images with Copilot. Okay. So let's move on. Now we're going to look at practical examples. I've just picked 3, and it's straightforward examples. It just shows you the general knowledge capabilities, problem solving, if you want to use it for problem solving, and time planning. So these are straightforward examples. So let's see. The first one is the moon landing. So people said, Anton, don't pick controversial topics, but I think it's okay. Let's see if you believe it. Some people say it didn't take place. Some people say yes. I am in between somewhere. I said maybe there's some stuff that's made up, but okay, that's not the purpose of this. That's just a topic here that we try to use for a prompt, and I just want to show you that you can use a prompt to discover literature, to do math, to do art. It can do calculations for you. And this is just the purpose of that prompt. So we're going to take this prompt, and you'll notice here there's an interesting part here that says, as an expert on general knowledge. Okay, so we are changing the focus of the AI to say, you are now an expert on general knowledge. Now answer these questions. Okay, now there's one thing that we have to be always aware, and maybe you've heard of this. It's called AI hallucinates. These hallucinations, in short, it is lying, but we call it hallucinations because it makes things up. It's so eager to answer you that it makes things up. So as these models are getting better, the hallucinations are getting less. Don't be discouraged and say, oh man, if it's lying to me, why do I really want to use it? You can actually implement a procedure where you can say, okay, let's check the results. And you can say again, as an expert on general knowledge, review the above information, including books mentioned, share what you know about these books. Okay. So, I am also never disappointed because it always keeps it interesting. Thank you, Tobias. Okay, let's see. Let's try this prompt and see what we'll get. Okay, we're going to see what it thinks about the moon landing. Got the literature part, we've got the math part. We want to see some calculations, and we want to see if it has some. And it says easy to understand English. Very important. I always use that because sometimes it can, it sounds like your professor. So let's keep it in easy to understand English. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so we've got a book there. Okay, we've got some math calculations there. You can see it did some calculations for us on the weight, what it would weigh on the moon, just to show you that's possible. And then there's certain art pieces of famous iconic image there from Buzz Aldrin. But now we're going to check it. Let's apply that and see if it actually spoke the truth. As an expert on general knowledge, review the information. Okay, and it must share about the books and make sure that book is truthful. And I want to see if I maybe can purchase this book. And it would be nice if I could have a reference to that book. And Copilot will provide you the references. You can see there as well. There's references provided clearly. And it says, oh, yes, there's definitely that book, and gives you a bit more information. So you can see you can use Copilot for research purposes as well and to search. And it will give you the links. And we looked at this book, Apollo 11, picturing Apollo 11, and we've confirmed it in the check or in the review that there's the same. So let's see if we can some reviews on this. Let's click there. And there we've got a basic some of the reviews. That's very nice. And then we can click on the link as well. So this just lays the foundation. You see, you can actually use it to find websites and find information, and it will go to that site, and there's the book. So it's very convenient in that sense as well. Okay, let's move on to the next example. Right, the next example, here in South Africa, we have musicians called Mafiki Zolo, and I believe I pronounced that correctly. If not, you can help me with that. But you can see we have to plan for an event, and again here we have the basics for a good prompt. Just as a reminder, we have a purpose. We want to organize an event, and you'll see it has those basic things. We have data. We've got 80,000 Rand, 200 people. That is the cost, the meals, and the fee for the band. And we want to have insights. The insights is identify and highlight any issues, but you'll notice that we didn't ask for the output. So the output will be on its own. It will decide what the output is. So let's try that example quickly. Okay, let's see. Let's put that in, and you'll notice we have a bit of a budget problem, but let's see if Copilot can identify this for us and make some suggestions for us how to plan this event. That's the budget, and you'll see there. Oops, the budget cost is total cost is 100,000 Rand. We exceed the budget 80,000 by 20,000 Rand. So yeah, we need to make a plan, and then below there it gives very insightful suggestions. Negotiate with a band, seek sponsorship, reduce meal costs, increase ticket price. So it's really convenient, and that could help you. It could help you make decisions based on that. Okay, let's move to the last example from just the Copilot perspective. And you can really use this for planning. And sometimes maybe you've been in this position where everything is just over your head and you do not know where to start. And you can see this prompt is sort of reflecting the panic that I need to plan for something. And you'll notice, help, I'm drowning in tasks. How do I manage this? Give me a fully worked out plan. And you've just made notes here. It doesn't need to be structured. You can really just go for it. And if you have that foundational principles for good prompting, and then you can run with this. Okay, so let's do this. And then we'll move on to M365. Okay, let's see the planning. Okay, let's see what it gives us, and I'll jump to the next one. Okay, there's a daily routine, weekly routine, and bi-weekly routine. Just shows you that any problem you can throw at it, there's definitely options for you. Okay, so another one I want to do is to show you can also attach documents to Copilot and ask Copilot to explain the documents for you. In this case, we're going to attach a contract, and we're going to ask it to examine the contract for us. Focus on less obvious but important risks, list the biggest issues, and share your insights. So this is definitely something you can do. And you'll notice here that I will attach a file to this. You can add your prompt, and then you can either use those icons at the bottom to attach a file, or you can just click and drop the file into this, and I'll drop it in, and we'll see what insights it can give to us on the contract. It's dropped, so it's uploading the file for us. Let's give it a moment. I'm going to send that off, and we'll see what it's giving us. And it will analyze the contract for us. And you'll notice we also said as an expert on contracts. So there it shows us exactly where to go in the document and what it found. And obviously, you cannot take this as a direct legal advice, but it's a really good guideline, and it can help you to determine what things are issues. Okay, I'm going to move on. So let's jump directly into Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now, these figures are not our figures. These figures I got from another website, but Copilot for M365 open up all these other Office tools to you. And you'll notice these figures, 30%, 40% on efficiency if you use the chat directly, Copilot. and Copilot for Outlook. It just shows you that Copilot for M365 is not just about chatting, but it really integrates deeply with all these Microsoft Office 365 tools. Okay, in this case, we're going to focus on Word, Chat, Teams, and Outlook, and PowerPoint. The reason I'm not looking at Excel specifically now is that Wave 2, the next release, brings a bit more features, and currently certain features in Excel is a bit challenging, but let's jump right in and let's look at Microsoft Word. Okay, we're going to look at draft and add content and rewrite text and how to create summaries. So let's jump right in, and you'll see Copilot on the right here. You can use this to access Copilot chat here. So this chat will talk to the document, and there you've got tools to help you draft and create a document. And obviously here you'll notice you can reference prompts here from the repository, and here's again that little icon where you activate your web and other plugins. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's draft a document. So this is a simple one. It's just straightforward. We're going to look at create a document, benefits on cloud computing. And we're just going to give it free rein. So remember what I said, if you're not going to tell it what to do, it's going to do whatever it thinks best. And in this case, it's just going to create the content directly in your Word. So this is really impressive, and you can just edit the content after you've created this. Okay, so you notice there it just went on its own. And now you can change. You can say keep it, you can remove it. Well, in this case, we're going to change a bit of the information and say, let's add some references to this as well. You click there, you add references section, format it in Harvard style, and now it's going to regenerate it. So remember, now it's going to redo all that content. Otherwise, if you want to keep the content, you must say keep it and then edit. But I'm going to show you how to edit as well now. Then you'll notice, okay, it redid the whole thing, and after the conclusion, there's our references. Right. And in this case, we're going to say keep it. And there's your document, and now you can start editing, which makes it very convenient. Okay, let me jump to the next example. Right. I see De Villiers has his hand raised. Can we ask questions, Carl, now, or shall we hold on to the end?
It's a fair question from De Villiers, and his question, Anton, is effectively, can, I guess, Copilot do internal referencing in terms of the content that it leverages? So if you were not using it in the web context and it was perhaps referencing documents from a SharePoint store, etc., can it bring in references to that documentation that it's used in a response?
Yes, exactly, De Villiers. It can do that, and I'll get to that a bit later. But you can ask questions, and it can reference the content. Where click on a reference point, and it will take you to that index or that position exactly where the content is references. Correct. Okay.
Great.
So the next example, just to move along, our time is limited. I'm going to create a job specification, and we're going to attach a file. In this case, the file that we're going to attach is a PDF file, and to attach the PDF file, you could use /. You can obviously use the little paperclip at the bottom there, but you use /, and you can attach a file, and that file is basically within your shared drive, your OneDrive. So in this case, I'm attaching an example, and I'm asking it to use that file as a template to create this job specification for a salesperson. And it's going to use that format, not the content specifically, because you clearly said you use this as a template for reference. Okay, and in this case, we're going to say, okay, we want to add a bit more, and we're going to look at add specific KPI targets, include desire certification, and describe the company culture fit. Okay, now it will generate that for us, and it will do that as we've asked. Okay. Now you can use the other examples, and you can page here. You can say, maybe I prefer the previous one, or you can prefer the latter, and then obviously you can say keep it. Okay, so moving along to the next example. And in this example, I'm going to show you specifically how to modify or how to change the content. So say you want to change something in the skills, you would click on that little icon there, the Copilot icon, and you would say, you would do a prompt on that content, and this prompt is specifically related to that content, and you want to say, okay, I like additional skills, but more skills that are applicable to senior salesperson. And then you would generate that, and it will create the content. And this time the formatting is not right, but sometimes it gets the formatting right. Maybe you want to say, okay, let's do something different, add 3 more skills focusing on communication. So you can edit the content as you go along. And in this case, it honored the bullet list, but you have to remove the duplication. You'll see there's some duplication there, and you can say keep it, and then you can remove the additional text there. Okay, so right, let's move to the next example. Okay, in this example, I'm going to show you how to create tables, and obviously in Word documents, it's a big thing. Again, you select items, and you can just say, visualize this as a table, and it will convert those items to this table. You know, how many times have you sit and create a table and added it to the table? And now you can ask questions specifically on the table. If the table is not to your liking, you can literally ask, format the table in this way. We want 2 columns, experience and years, get the expertise from the list, and then we want to add the years. Okay, so there you go. Got a table, you've got the expertise from the list, and you can keep it or you can change it if it's not to your liking. Right. Okay, let's look at PowerPoint. We have to move along. I see our time is limited. I'm going to show you create a new slide deck, adding slides, creating talking points, and review your slides. Okay, so you can use this at the top here in PowerPoint. Create a presentation about. We're going to go a little bit quicker, so excuse if I'm not explaining everything in so much detail, but there you add your explanation in PowerPoint. You want to do a practical Copilot uses for your talent team workflow, and you can enter your topics, what you want to discuss, and how you want to approach the slide deck, and you will send it off, and it will create basically an outline for you. So you notice that it creates the outline for you, and this outline you can edit the positions, but not the content. That comes a bit later. You can move concepts around. And then you can basically say, if you want to insert specific information, you can say, okay, let's add additional information. And in this case, I want some practical a call to action to the team to start using Copilot, the daily work. Now it will create that part of the content. This is not necessarily the slides, but these are the concepts that's contained within the slides. So now you click generate, and it will generate all the slides for you. And this sometimes can take some time, but let's give it a moment. There's the slides. All the slides that has been added. And in this case, you can just say, let's give it a moment. I can maybe up it along here. And there's the slides we've got. You can obviously must click keep it. Okay, there we go. There's your slide presentation. It's added images. You'd add a text, and maybe you don't like the image. That image I don't like on the first one, but yeah, that's the basic idea. Okay, so you can also create slides from the chat. You'll notice I selected Copilot here on the side, and we can say add an agenda slide, and you can literally ask it to create individual slides. I do notice that it's not able to edit, select, and then comment there on or prompt on the selected text, but there you go. It created an agenda slide for you. So if you have content, you can say create an additional slide with this content, and it will do the same thing. And obviously, you can edit that as well. Okay, moving along. So I'm jumping a bit forward. I really want to show you Outlook. This is very interesting. Draft a new email, review an email, and with Copilot coaching, and then how to search for emails. This is very, very useful. So let's show you how you will create a new email. You can either draft it there with a slash, as we said before, or you can use the draft function in Copilot. And this is really interesting. You can either type out a sample email, or you can give instructions within this email. And you'll notice I am using square brackets. And that square brackets is sort of just a way to distinguish that I want an additional instruction, add additional bullet points that we need to consider. And in this case, it will fill that in for us, and then you can say generate, and it will generate a draft email for you. And obviously, it looks a lot like what we did in Word. You've got various options you can look at, but you'll notice there the additional points were added that we ask in those square brackets. So we gave an instructions, and here you can set the tone of your email, longer, shorter, formal, direct, casual, and if you prefer, a poem, can you believe it? Okay, and in this case, we're going to make it more direct. It will create a more direct message, and you can select different versions there at the top. You can choose different versions, so version 1, and you can just click keep it, and it will keep that for you, and you can continue with your editing. Okay, and now you want to review that email, or you've written an email and you want Copilot to help you review the email. You go to Coaching by Copilot, and it will literally review the content, and it will give you suggestions on your message. It will tell you where's your tone, where your sentiment and your clarity. And what's nice about this, you can keep this window open and go to your message that you've created, and you can apply the changes as you like. Those difficult emails, sometimes this is really, really convenient, just to make sure that you approach your message correctly. Okay. So, next example. If you want to search, you'll notice the Copilot on the side again, and all your conversations that you have here will be related to your email in your inbox. Now we're going to do a search. Find me the most recent emails about Copilot Studio training. It's going to go off, and I know that we have a search at the top there, Outlook search, but this is really much smarter search. But I noticed that it cannot search, maybe in future versions, it cannot search multiple folders. It's currently just focusing on your inbox, and you can see it's getting the emails for me, specific emails that were done on specific training, and it's providing the references, and it's really easy. You'll notice there that every reference, you can click on the reference and it will open the email for you as well. So let's just let it run through, and you'll notice, okay, and you can click on those references and it will open up the specific email for you. Okay, there we go, and then it will open up that email for you. Okay, I think that's quite a nifty feature. Okay, let's look at Microsoft Teams. So this is the last one on the list, and I'm going to show you Copilot in Teams. Remember, we use Copilot from a web browser, and now you can use, I'll show you Copilot is actually part of Teams as well. We're going to show you the meeting recaps feature, and then I'm going to show you how to chat with your data. So In Copilot for Teams, you will notice a little chat here that's specific to Copilot, and you can start, obviously, have a normal conversation here with Copilot, but this is specifically relating to your work environment like we had previously in the web version. Okay, you can still do new chats. You have your access to your history over here, and let me show you an example for this. Okay. In this case, I've been on leave for the last 5 days and don't know how I've missed all meetings. So you want to catch up, and this is going to access all your emails, all your messages, and see what you need to do, just for the sake of not exposing sensitive information. I ask it not to show sensitive information, so it shouldn't show content or anything like that. And it will honor that just for the sake of privacy. But you can obviously ask it to summarize those messages and create, in this case, we asked for an urgent important matrix, and it will tell me which things are important. Very convenient. Get back from leave, you're overwhelmed by 1,000 emails. Where do I start? And then it can help you to summarize those. Okay, there we go. And we had a question earlier about references. So the references has been removed here, but you will be able to click on messages, and it will take you to the message in Teams, to your email, and wherever you had communication, and it will link you to that specifically. Okay, so this is the review part, the recap part, excuse me. The recap part is when you had a meeting, and in this case, we had Copilot training, and this view is really worth getting M365. Having meetings, asking questions on conversations, and it really makes it worth it to get M365 if it's only for this feature. So in this case, it's a recap. It's part of every meeting that you get on Teams, and it gives you this complete output here. And you'll see here also, it tells you when people spoke, and it has full indexing here. In this case, it's a training session, so there's only one topic specifically, maybe small sections, and you'll have topics here. You'll have chapters as well, and you can go to those, and obviously it makes it really easy to navigate. You can see who said one. In this case, I presented the training, and there's the discussion. People ask questions, and then obviously the notes is really powerful. So it will summarize your meeting for you, but remember to check. Remember to check. And one thing that's also powerful that's not being shown on the screen is that you have a summary at the bottom of actions with who and when these actions are due by whom. So that's also really powerful, and for administrative purposes, for keeping record, managing projects, etc. It really is convenient. And on the right hand side, obviously, you have another Copilot chat area where you can ask questions about this meeting. So in this case, I asked who were the most vocal in the session. Obviously, it was me. During the session, the most vocal participants based on the frequency and the content of their contributions was Anton. So this is a training session, and then it speaks to people. And then, again, note here, there's references here. You can click on this, and it will take you to the spot in the meeting. And something that's really important, before I get to that, I just want to show you that you can have if you had a chat where you had multiple meetings, it will create different parts here. And it's something that's really important for using Copilot with Teams is you must have transcripts. You must have transcripts on. You don't need to record the meeting fully, but you must have transcripts activated. Okay, so in this case, let me show you another example. Give me a short summary. So now this shows you can chat with your data. I have a presentation from Gardner, and I want to chat with your data, and you can use the same method you use in Word. I attach the Gardner survey PDF file, and this is on my OneDrive, and I can ask questions to what is specifically on my OneDrive. You'll notice it will create summary for us. So you can do various questions. You can attach multiple files. You can do cross-references within those files. That's a bit of a more advanced concept or topic. Yeah, but that is very convenient for to reference your data. And it will keep it safe. It will keep it safe. Okay, let's move on to Copilot resources. So we have limited time, but hopefully we've covered most of the interesting parts of M365. It's much broader than we've just shared. The next wave for Microsoft that is being released within September now, some of those features were released, is really impressive. And if you keep track of DVT and our DVT Insight sessions, we also are planning an advanced session for the future. We're going to look at sharing advanced prompting techniques, really going into things like turn-by-turn prompting, using an AI chat to make notes, using an AI chat to discuss advanced topics, and using AI to have creative conversations with. So those advanced topics are coming, but keep your eyes open. Okay, so there's some resources that you can have access to. Copilot Lab, definitely a place where you can go have a look. These are the basic prompts for all the M365 apps, and you can go there, you can save prompts that you like, and you can select different apps, Word, PowerPoint, etc., and it can help you with basic prompts. And you can also go to a more advanced level when you look at the Copilot scenario library, and it has really complete scenarios and explain to you how to ask specific questions in certain functional areas. In this case, customer service, finance, and the bottom here I didn't show here, sales and marketing and things like that. And this is also really a good resource. Okay, and that is it from my side. I apologize if I went quickly for some of these items, but we had to fill in the time precisely, and I want to allow just a minute or two, Carl, if there are any questions.
Well, Anton, first of all, thank you. I think that was a brilliant session, well covered, and certainly very insightful in terms of the work inside Copilot. We do already have a very pertinent question from Shirini. She was asking in respect to security considerations around sensitive information when you're perhaps using the free license version of Copilot. So if you happen to go to copilot@microsoft.com and you use that version of it, is there anything in particular that you need to be aware of in respect to protection of information or the security that is being applied on Copilot when you use it?
Obviously, from an enterprise level, if you do have the pro version or if you do use your company email to log in, that protection is a given. It comes with Copilot. If you use the free version from your Outlook email perspective, it will still guard your data. But I think the guarantees are less compared to what has been given to the Copilot Pro or the Copilot as an official license. But I can say, as soon as you see that shield, you must log in. Don't go on Copilot and use the version where you don't log in. That shield is quite an important part, that you see that little shield at the top there to show it protects your data. So yes, even in if you use the free version, still logging, you will still have protection on your data.
Great, thank you, Anton. And with that, we are right on time for the end of our session today. Again, Anton, many thanks for your expertise and the time you've made available today to share that with our audience. To our audience, thank you for joining us at the DVT Insight session this week. We look forward to you joining us again in the near future. And as Anton mentioned, there will be a session coming up that will be around advanced prompt engineering and how you can make even more effective use of Copilot in the Office 365 environment. Thank you again for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you.